This is Steve Nee with the behind the scenes look at the Vine Lights setup. It's daytime here, the show is done. Before we break it down, we'll walk through a few things. Here's how we anchor these props in the yard. Just some 1/2-inch rebar pounded into the ground, and then we just zip tied it to these vertical matrices. This EMT, since it's open at the bottom, there's actually rebar on the ground that's sticking up, and these just slide right over it so they stay in place. You can see the back behind here. The wreath, the rebar is going into the EMT. Same thing for the cross. It's inside here. It's on the outside, and the reason it's on the outside here is we have this PVC T. And because of that, we cannot get the 1/2-inch rebar to go through there. Take a look here. One thing to note as you're seeing, we also have these EMT clamps. And with those clamps, we run guy wire through all this. So that way it security wires everything to each other. It's kind of a little tip. The arches here, there's rebar pounded into the ground, and then it's coming up like 6 inches or so. Goes into each of the ends. Again, you'll see the EMT clamp and then the guy wire that runs through all the arches. Anchors over there. Same thing we did on the mini trees. These things are just EMTs sitting in. See the rebar right there? This right there. We've got a clamp and a guy wire for security. Runs through all the mini trees and also clamps over there. All right. As for mounting the props in the building, we use a lot of industrial hot glue and just a few anchors. There's actually very few anchors drilled into the mortar here. We'll kind of talk about the matrix here in the middle. This matrix does have 4 anchors that are screwed in on the side here, and then there's a screw hook, and then I just use a piece of zip tie and then go around the EMT there to hold that corner in. It's just sitting on the ledge here of the brick. On this corner there's another one drilled in sideways, and it has 2 zip ties hooking around the corner for safety in case one zip tie breaks. Up in the top corner here there's also 1 anchor screwed in sideways, and again 2 zip ties to hold the corner in place. And then up here as well there's a anchor screwed in sideways, so nothing is front facing there. Here we are in the corner bottom left of the matrix. You can see we have 1 anchor, the hook, and ran 2 zip ties. As you can see, we cut the 2 zip ties. They're just sitting here on the ledge. And then there's 2 more up there, 2 more over there that he's gonna clip and take it down together. And those 2 are clipped as well already. The mega spinners, there are 2 anchors screwed into the wall with 1/2-inch C-clamps, and those pop in PVC holders, and I'll show you what that looks like underneath. The windows are very similar to the matrix, where there are 2 at the top anchors with hooks, 2 anchors with hooks, and then a zip tie or 2 holding the corners in place. Same thing over there. And then we built these little frames here that zip tie to the EMT frame for the windows to hold the snowflakes. And then the holly is just hot glued to the wall. The snowflakes are hot glued up there. That one's hot glued up there. All the snowflakes are basically that are on the building are just hot glued in place because the snowflakes are pretty light. So looking up at the snowflake, you can see that there's 2 legs that I cut out of 1/2-inch PVC. The part that's connecting to the snowflake is zip tied, drilled through the PVC and then zip tied to the snowflake. The other end against the building is just hot glued to the building. In the center at the top, there's a metal hook that's just glued to the brick up there. and there's a piece of fishing line that what we do is we first hang the snowflake on that hook, and then we hot glue the bottom two legs. Do the same thing here. This fishing line running across the top of that snowflake, it hangs on the hook. The hook is hot glued to the building, and then the two legs on the bottom have a 1/2 inch PVC, which is cut, zip tied to the snowflake, and then hot glued to the building. As far as power goes, this whole show, 10,000 pixels plus 2 large PA speakers, an FM transmitter, is all powered with 2 20 amp circuits. Inside here, you saw it before, but there's an UPS, and in that UPS, the UPS powers the Raspberry Pi, so that stays powered up all the time. There is a Falcon F16 in there. That Falcon F16 is powered, there's 4 350 watt power supplies for 12 volts, and that's powered off of a timer. In addition to the F16, in this box, there's a power cord and a timer on here that's coming down, and it's going to the F16 here. And there's another 4 power supplies there. So 4 power supplies here, plus the 4 power supplies inside the big black box is 8 power supplies. They're on their own timers, and their timers are separated by just a few minutes, so that way when they kick on, they don't blow any GFCI or any circuits during the surge on power on. The second circuit, coming from that orange cable, is going into this box. In there are 3 timers. And as you saw earlier, those timers are each going out to different areas of the front yard, and they're set to come on and off slightly different times in the staggered, so that way when the PA speakers get powered up, they don't all then pull too much power and blow the circuit or pop a GFCI. So this speaker is on one timer, the speaker over there is on another timer. This controller gets powered up, and that controller there gets powered up. So there's 2 power supplies in there, 2 power supplies in here. That's on one timer. The speaker's on one timer, and this speaker's on one timer, and that's it for the second circuit.